some of the new thoughts that I'm having on the pubic bone as if it's neurologically a foot. Because if you look at the pelvis, people look at the pelvis, which I've sort of been fighting as a unit, but it's not. It's two, a left, right, however you want to look at it, separate mechanisms. Now, if you actually look at the pelvis in this kind of implementation, to me you kind of see this heel, foot, toe kind of thing. But what really piqued my curiosity seeing a snippet on how the fetus in the womb uncurls. So someone posted up on me showing, looking at it as rotation, but I'm really wondering if the act of rolling over but tummy time is really not to set up the first foot of the human body, which is the pubic bone itself. Because I think too many people get caught up on the act of, yes, tummy time's a milestone, but more so crawling and all of that. But the fact that the pubic bone itself needs to not only strike the floor, but in a sense walk. And I think when this gets bypassed, especially in cases of the cerebral palsy setting up in the system, that the kids that really have problems walking, especially bringing their feet to the floor, I can almost guarantee you now that they didn't have this kind of tummy time because they were still in that inflection mode. Is it inflection, or is it that the fetus isn't done uncurling? So when that walk can happen, then the back activates more that arch. But also what needs to happen is that seesaw. So as the pubic bone goes here, it brings the head up. Because this is the conversations I get of everyone, my child doesn't lift its head up. I get it. If I'm in this position, I can lift my head up. That should not be a function of a baby. A baby's lower pubic bone, core area, and all of that, not core strength, core area. There's a difference. I don't believe in core strength. Goes down and brings the head into this organization, not lifting. When a child goes into a lift mode, especially an infant, it cancels out any form of weight transfer and ability to go in and out of a movement. The second they're in lift mode, so if they're in lift mode, everything else stops or is impossible or nearly impossible to do. Now, I can be in lift mode and still do lots of things and lift one eye and do all of that. That's different. That's a mature manipulation of muscles. But an immature system it's impossible for them to manipulate muscles. And that's what people don't understand. A baby can't say, and we sit there and go, oh, he got the ball. I get it, but that wasn't a conscious manipulation because he can't control it. And even when a child's 2 and they're walking and they have biped locomotion and all that, it's still not a controlled manipulation because they can't repeat it. If you ask them, yes, they can repeat it subconsciously, but if you ask like a child, like say if we had Arlie in here right now, or more so a 2-year-old to say, okay, you're walking, what actually are you doing? You know what I mean? They would look at you like you've got 3 heads.
Yeah.
Whereas we can make conscious note of how they're striking heel toe or, this, that, and the other. So I think I was on it, but I think I applied too much pressure up through the pubic bone versus allowing more of that walking to happen. Okay, so there's 2 ways of looking at the walking. So right now I'm just showing it from here, but I'm going to show it, I think, from here. But what this allows also to do is that butterfly can set up. Versus, again, what I call same. So this goes also into my conversation when you just have a child and you haven't worked on that organization of the pubic bone, And see, even Frank does it. And you just try and do patterning. Especially when you're trying to do the double patterning, where you're trying to do left and then right. See how even Frank has, where the left is presenting differently on the right and so on, versus going through the pubic bone. But what this also starts to set up is this is the only part in the human body where the muscles go and they transfer over each other, where one is more of a downward force, where the other is the upward force. But this allows the diaphragm to hang, but I don't believe the diaphragm can hang until the pubic bone is there for the support. Because if I tuck my pubic bone or don't place it down, I can't drop my diaphragm. Because it creates a different organizations versus letting the belly out. The groin area, allowing, but again, was I just holding the baby to work on its vestibular, or was it more of that pubic bone organizing and then allowing that belly to drop down and bringing the belly down to the floor? But this ligament stretch here as well, I shouldn't say stretch, but again, where it's getting floor contact. And that allows more of the buoyancy to continue. And people, I don't think, see that. There's a ligament right here to the pubic bone. And I always wondered what was its true function, right? But what if, like a rubber band, that one of its first functions is actually to, in a sense, bounce off the floor? So to add to the buoyancy of what's going on, through the groin with the counterbalance and so forth, maybe that's what we're missing in tummy time, is the setup of the ligaments. Like, what if you have collagen that's not forming properly because it just didn't get the feedback, like if tummy time, like, are ligaments meant to have, again, in a sense, developmental milestones just as much as we see as movement milestones? Right. So when, sort of like, if same thing, like say, they say the eye's a muscle, but if I put, like, let's say I blindfold a baby, at some point that baby would never see again. I mean, they've done it with cats, right? That the brain just shuts off that organ. But are we looking at the same thing for, like, ligaments? What if when they're not, because of hospitalization or whatever, they're not giving the proper stimuli at certain times in beginning development, that's affecting the system?